in Illustrator. I normally collapse my tools into two lines. So the basic ones up here are like our colour boxes in our tools. So the first one is default. The second one is default, but you can flip the double arrow to make it black fill, white line. So that could be any colour, fill or stroke. The third one is when you remove the white fill, so that's for when we're drawing. Always draw with just a stroke colour, normally black. And the next one is for bounding boxes. You have no fill, no stroke. So you can, for none, you can press / on your keypad. You have to click on the box, the particular fill or stroke, to bring it to the front to change that. And the final one is choosing a colour. So normally that's done in the swatches panel. There's also the colour panel. So swatch panel is more your default swatches. If ever you lose these, you go up to window, come down to swatch libraries and choose default swatches. Art and illustration, and they'll come back up. We'll just choose any old colour today. And so I'm just going to move these out of the way. You can always dock your panels over here on the right. So we're getting rid of our fill and we're swapping our stroke to our fill box. And the next thing we're going to do is make a transparency. We can copy it by holding down Option and dragging. And we're going to click on our transparency and just reduce it. So that's how you make a transparency. So that's good for all sorts of things, but namely sheer fabrics. The size is copying a colour from a bitmap print, so the box. So if you were doing this, you would need to make yourself a box and then copy it. So you can select it, get the eyedropper tool, choose a new colour. So we're just going to sort of see if we can match the colour that I've already got underneath. The way bitmap works is if you zoom right in, you know, depending on what little pixel you click on, it will change the colour. So you have to be, you can either zoom in to choose a colour or just keep clicking away. Okay, so select the box, select the eyedropper, click over another area. So like that. Select the next box, click over these peachy areas. What happened was I couldn't find the brightness of the colour that I wanted. So if that happens, you can get something similar to a tonal value and then double click in the fill box and that brings up the colour picker. And so in here, I find if I move it sort of not right to the bottom, but a little bit, you can see how the colour over here up the top box is changing as I slide through the different orange sort of colours. So I guess the colour we're looking for is probably more in this family. Maybe, I don't know, it's always hard to tell. So it's still dull. You know, if I want it brighter, I'm going to have to go to a cleaner sort of colour. I'll even go into my oranges a bit more. Getting there anyway. And yeah, the other boxes are just spare in case you want to find some more colours. So this exercise is about making a stripe pattern. This is our guide over here. We're just going to grab a rectangle and click and drag out the colour. That was the last colour I used, so I think I'll stick with that. And then you can copy that shape, hold down Option and drag. Make sure it's lined up, there's no white gap. And choose another colour. And zoom in just to check. So as I look at this, it doesn't have a grey outline, that was just the guide. I need to move this one down further. If you want to check that these are lined up, you can go Window Align and choose Vertical Align Center. Sorry, Horizontal Align Center. Alright, so that's done. All we have to do now is actually come up to our swatches. I'll just drag them out so we can see them. Select these two with the black selection tool and drag them in there. And so they get added to the swatches that easily. Now all we want to do is fill our outline. So if I click on this with my black selection tool, see how everything's highlighted? That means it's grouped. So I need to go and get my group selection tool, which is under the direct selection tool. I'm just going to select the outline. I'm going to make sure my fill box is at the front and click on my print. There you go. So that's how you add just to the outline. I'm going to copy this for my Command C, my fourth exercise, Command V, delete this. Okay, so this time what we're doing, we're just selecting the outline. Remember, use the group selection tool. We're pressing R for rotate, or you can click on the rotate tool, and then we're holding down the tilde key, which is underneath the escape key, top left of our keypad, and dragging, and that will change the angle of the stripe. You know, this can be used for things like, say we were filling this, we might want our stripe to be horizontal with the sleeve edge. So that's why that's used. Now we're going to make a spot pattern. So we need our ellipse tool, and we're going to click and drag, hold down Shift and Option and drag from the center. Now we don't want a stripe fill, we don't want a black outline, we want colour. So I'm just going to choose colour. I'm going to make sure my box is big enough, and then I'm going to make sure it's a fill colour, not stroke. So by swapping it into the fill, I'm going to copy that shape, hold down Option and drag. Drag to here, drag to there, drag to there. Okay, now I'm going to make a square. So click and drag. It's a bit hard to see. Just going to pick a colour. Make sure it's a fill, not a stroke. I'm going to send that to the back. Shift Command, back bracket, or back. And so this is all good. But what we have to do is make a bounding box. And a bounding box is the same shape as our fill box, but it has no colour in it. The bounding box is this same box. What happens is we copy it. I always hold down Option and drag just to make sure it's copied. Get rid of the colour. Grab the box and place it back over. It's a bit hard to see that you've got it there. You can always go Command Y if you're not sure that it's all lined up. Zoom in. Just check how it's going. Yep, that's good. And we're going to send that bounding box to the back. Shift Command back bracket, or right click, arrange, send to back. Command Y to go back to your preview. Okay, so we can select this and reduce it in size as well. So you could have two different size spots, just saying you're making a design that requires that, or just for a bit of fun. And so what we've got is our first box. We're just going to drag that into our swatches, and our second box, select everything, drag it into our swatches, and click on this box here at the right. Click on the first fill, click on the second box, click on the second fill. There you have it, two different sized spots. And also you can do things like select it, hold down the tilde key and move it around so that it's sort of more lined up. Okay, so that's that exercise. The next exercise will be colour filling this. Now what I didn't show you before was adding colours to your swatch palette. So you can select your colours after you've made them, click on the list, go new colour group, give the colour group a name, just selected artwork is fine, and OK. So they're now added to the panel, and now we're going to use Live Paint on this task 6. So Live Paint means that you don't have to have joined paths, and it's probably the easiest way to colour things in Illustrator. What we're going to do is just copy our shapes. Hold down Shift, collect more than one path. So there are our shapes. Hold down Option to copy, drag that over to the right. Okay, now we're going to go Object, Live Paint, Make. And then we have to get our Live Paint tool, which is under the Shape Builder tool. Live Paint button. And so you just need to choose a colour and add. So each time you choose a different colour, it adds different colour. You can change your mind, you can add a print, you can add a gradient. So anything you put in your swatches, you can add to it. Once you've finished with that, then you copy it. Get rid of all the black outline though, before you copy it back, and just drag it over your original image and send it to the back. Shift Command back bracket or send it back. There you go. Next one is gradients. So the gradient panel is the one that goes from dark to light. If you hover over it, over here on the right, it'll show up as gradient. Drag it out, click on the double arrow to expand the panel. Now, to add colours, what you're going to have to do is select an outline. We're going to start with our type. We're going to start with linear. And to add colours, all we have to do is drag them into the panel over those little spots. If there's a colour still there, just drag it off to get rid of it. And what's happened is it's gone into the outline. If you just click on the double arrow, it will swap it to the fill, and I'm going to choose a black outline. There we go. Second one, just click on the outline, group selection tool, grab the radial. So the radial is circular. It's good for things like buttons and I don't know, anything that needs to sort of highlight from the middle. So the first colour is the middle colour, the second colour is the last colour. You can change, so if you select it, you can move this around so it can become more intense or less intense. What I'm going to do is the freeform gradient. You can add with points, which works like this. You just have to choose a colour. Choose colour, click on a point, choose a colour, click on a point, choose a colour, click on a point. So then you can go back, choose a different colour for different points. And this is really effective on things like if you've got a very sort of crunchy kind of design and you want to show really pale areas. And this is a new tool that hasn't always been available in Illustrator. I love it. I think it's fantastic. So yeah, so you can fill them, move them around, change the colour, change your mind, which is always good. So that's the points one, and then this next one is the freeform gradient, but we're going to use lines this time. And so choose colour and drag, freeform. Okay, so sort of clicking around. It can sometimes give you better fill than the other option of the points. So you just got to decide which suits your design the best. There you go. And again, you can move them around, change them. So this one's more intense. You get a much more defined area of light and dark. It's done. And we don't need our gradient anymore. This one is about using a clipping mask. So we need to select our outline, copy it, drag it over. And I've done this on purpose where, see how you can't really see it through the fabric? You have to be able to see it, so you need to bring it to the front. Drag it over, Shift Command forward bracket, or right click, arrange, bring to the front. You can then move your fabric around till you get it to the right sort of area. I mean, you would scale a fabric, you would, that could be a lot smaller. And that way it would have much better resolution. So don't forget about your resolution when you're working with photographic prints, and I've got those notes in the notes for you, just in case. How you do that in Photoshop. This one, object, clipping mask, make. And there you go. Move it over and then send it to the back. Shift Command, send it back. Our line work is a bit too pale, so I would probably make that line work all probably quite strong. At the moment it's only, I think it's about, yeah, it's because it's all grouped, but if I just select one, it's 25%, so if I made that darker, maybe 80%, something like this, it'd be a lot better. Okay, this one is Envelope Distort, and what we're doing, we're copying our outline again, Option, drag it over, bring it to the front. Now, I've done this on purpose because this can sometimes happen, that doesn't matter what you do, you can't bring your line work to the front. So what you do is you select it and you go Command X, Command V, and then it should sit on top. Yeah, there you go. Don't know why that happens, but sometimes that's all that works. So this time we're going to change a photographic image and make it look wobbly, so it's sort of following the design of the construction. Object, Envelope Distort, Make with Mesh is the one we use. Come over, give 4 rows is good. Get our mesh tool, and then you can push. Normally what happens with pattern is it does get more scrunchy together on the edges because it's going around a shape. So probably want to bring that one in. This one's all sort of gathered on the bottom, so we want to sort of squish that in a bit. This one we could bring over so we can see it sort of over the sleeve head. Maybe pull this over a bit. That'll probably do. I don't think we need to go crazy with it. So that's done. Deselect and then select both objects. Object, clipping mask, make. Oh, okay. Let's see if it's going to work. It's grouped. Object, ungroup. Object, clipping mask, make. There you go. So it's a bit tricky, that one, but they're the things that can happen, so that's the reason I did that. And I haven't grouped this one. Another tricky thing. Okay, just going to grab it all, group it, Command G, drag it back over, bring it to the front, Shift Command, bring to the front. There you go. And our final one. So this one is about making a motif for a pattern, but making the pattern in Illustrator. The first thing you have to do is find a motif, copy it, Command C, go to Photoshop, and go File, New. So the resolution of that image and the size of it matter. Over here it says Create. I'm just clicking on Create. Has to think a bit because it, and then Command Paste. It'll always ask you Pixel, Smart Object, Path. Just so you know, Smart Object is an object that can be rescaled and numerous times, even be saved, and you can still scale it. Whereas pixels, once you scale something, it'll remain those pixels, and if you try and enlarge it, it'll break up. And tick it. Removing the background can be done in numerous ways. You can use your object selection tool. So you click and drag over the object and it will think about what it is that you want to copy or delete, and you press delete, and what happened is it's deleted the thing we want to keep. So Command Z, we have to go up to select inverse, and so that selects the bit, the outside. Press delete. I'm having trouble moving this over. Okay, so let's say put on screen. Okay, there we go. So we're left with these bits over here. So we could then, I'll show you the quick selection tool it doesn't do a very good selection, so you don't have as much control. Command D to change, get rid of the marching ants. Magic Wand I find is quite good because you can hold down Shift and just sort of, at this point it's quite difficult because you've only got little bits like this, but to tell you the truth, they're probably not going to show up, or they might even help the image, so we're not going to worry about that. It's probably something more like that we want to get rid of, something like that. So, you've got all these other bits that aren't sort of getting collected. Up here in your tolerance, you could bump that up, or the safest way to select something like this is to hold down Shift. But see, it's selecting more than we want now, so Command D to deselect. The other tools there's the lasso tool. That's good if you're skilled at using the mouse. Whoa, so that's normally quite hard to do. The polygonal lasso is good because you can keep clicking around the things that you want to get rid of. Double click to close, press delete. There's the pen tool, which is for very defined, it's the professional way to select something. It's good if you want to use it like the Illustrator pen. So you select the object around that you want, you click on selection up here in the control bar. It's a lot more complicated. You don't feather the edge, go OK, and then you have to go select inverse, otherwise it'll delete everything else. Delete. You've also got your erasers, so the Command D. The eraser tip, you can reduce the size by pressing the back arrow next to P, and so that will just get rid of that little bit there, just by rubbing. We've got a fair bit of detail over here that we probably need to define more. Well, it's a bit tricky to know what needs defining, but I think given the choice, I think I'd use my pen tool, but I'll just use the poly tool initially just because it's quicker sometimes. And really, this is going to be a pretty rough sort of image because of the pixelation of it anyway. Command 0. And so that's all good. We've got a white background in our layers. So if you just go Command D to deselect that last bit, drag that into the rubbish bin, and you'll see that there's a checkboard on the back. This means that the image has a transparent background. The other thing you might do at this point is go Command A to select all and then Command L. And what Command L is levels, and you can darken by pulling this one at the right or lighten pulling this one at the left. But we just probably want to darken it a tad. Okay, and so this is all good. You could save this file, save as on your computer. Daisy and Tiff. So Tiff is, often you'll be told you can save it as a, so a Tiff file is a small version of Photoshop. It still has layers and you can still edit the image, but it saves the no background. If you save it as a, it'll always give you this message even though I've only got one layer. So just go OK. But really, you know, we probably don't need to save it. But if you're using this as a motif on your design, then you probably would want a copy of it. Command A to select all, Command Copy to copy it, close the file, come back to this image, Command V is paste, and see that's our image with no background on it. And so what we're going to do probably is the right size for this image, so we'll just use it like that. And we have to think about our repeat pattern. So if we want our daisies to all go in the same direction, we just put them all in the same direction. But if we want to swap them around, so we might have those two going the same direction or not. I tend to just hover over a corner and move things, so that way it's more random, because I think at this point we do want something a bit more random. But you can always use the transform rotate technique. That one up. It's tricky how to do it without maybe sideways. And then this one, probably looking up towards that one, up towards that one. I don't know. Maybe that one should be more. Anyway, that'll do. So we have to do our background colour, whatever you like really. And like I said, if you need to know where that square is actually, you go Command Y, just check that your square is sitting over the top. Get your swatches, choose a background colour, orange this time, Command Y, and send to the back, Shift Command, send to the back, and copy the shape, hold down Shift, grab it by a point, move, sorry. Copy the shape, hold down Option, grab it by the outside, get rid of the colour, bring it back, sit it over the top. Really tricky this bit, isn't it? There you go. Normally it will snap to point, so you don't have to worry about it, but sometimes it won't. And you have to make sure that it's See, if you have this problem, you need to zoom in and then move it so that it's sitting exactly over the back. There we go. Check the other side. It's slightly out. Okay, that's right. Send to back, Shift Command, back bracket, or right click, arrange, send to back. Command 0. Now, the one thing that if you don't do this, you won't have any pattern, is you need to select all of that, come up to Window, come down to Links, and choose Embed. Mine are already embedded. I think it's because this image itself is embedded. Oh no, what it is because we just copy pasted it. But if we had actually saved the file as a TIFF and then brought it in, just dragged it onto the page, we would need to come and embed it. Otherwise it wouldn't be there next time we open the file. Okay, so we have this, and what we'll do is reduce the size because that's a pretty big pattern. Bring that over, roughly something like this, and get our swatches and drag it in. Okay, so all we have to do is get our group selection tool, select the outline, click on the design. There you go. All done. And this back colour, what we can do is sort of choose you could sort of click on an orange, double click on the orange to bring up the colour picker and choose a darker version of itself. Because it's got a transparency on it, you can go quite dark and it will still not show up that much. So that's the idea there. Very good. Done.